Again, thanks for clicking on our e-zine, and I hope you found last week's interview with Keith kind of instructional, informational. This week, for kind of our Suburban Monastery theme, we are going to be talking to Terry here. Terry Lee is one of our pastors here on staff. He's our lead worship pastor, and I thought, what better topic to talk to a person about worship than Terry Lee, who's our worship pastor. So, Terry, thanks for having us. And just had a couple quick questions for you.
Okay.
The first one would be, is worship as a discipline. Okay, why would we call it a discipline? What do you love about the discipline of worship?
Okay. Firstly, I'd like to say I think the Suburban Monastery thing is a really cool thing, and I want in. But then
that's
secondly,
a thumbs up, by the way.
As a discipline, I'm reminded of Brother Lawrence, monk. I don't know what century he lived in, who talked about practicing the presence of God. And I think there's been a shift in worship over the last decade or two where there's an overemphasis on the corporate gathering to the detriment of the fact that I've got a personal responsibility to walk with God. And to the extent that I can bring that into how I walk every day, is he with me now? Is he informing the decision that I'm making about work, about school, about how I'm driving, I don't know, the relationships that I'm in? It's really going to be significant to what I bring when I gather in corporate worship. So that daily presence of God as an expression of worship, and when I'm mindful of the fact that He's walking with me, He's protecting me. Gee, that car could have just sideswiped me. That conversation that I had, that could be redemptive if I just invite Him to be present in the conversation. I think that the second thing that comes to mind is something that I took out of a book by John Piper, and I just wrote it down because I thought it was significant enough. He said, he talks about worship being the Christianity is a hedonistic pursuit. That finding pleasure in God is a valid, theologically sustainable pursuit. And he says Christian hedonism combats pride because it puts man in the category of an empty vessel beneath the fountain of God. And so I think if I'm daily walking, if I'm this empty vessel beneath the fountain of God, recognizing that daily I need to be filled by Him, daily I need His life present in me, daily I'm acknowledging the beauty around me, and those words of thanks to Him become acts of worship. Those words, just that acknowledging of His presence is an act of worship as I say, God, you're with me. I sang that song, that I need you now. Well, here I am in the moment, and I need you now. And I think that begins to inform and infuse those corporate comings together with a lot of really valid reality. It's really good stuff.
Awesome. Okay. Well, I didn't prep Terry for this question. Oh, yeah, here it comes. Actually, it's probably not a barn burner, but I just want to know, what do you think about worship at Beulah, and what are some of the things that young adults can do to enhance worship, in our services?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say what do you think is lacking in our services,
yeah.
but what do you think that we as a young adult community can bring or add to our kind of our corporate setting?
Mm-hmm. That's a good question. If I had an ambition for our worship at Beulah, it would be, I think, related to what I just shared, and that is that rather than a community coming needing to even be kick-started into worship, needing the pump to be primed, there are times when we expect the worship leader to be this magician, say the right thing, wave the magic wand in the right way, and wow, worship erupts. Well, I mean, it might, there might be that God moment where it's infused, but so much stronger is that experience where the overflow of my life lived out before God results in me coming. I'm ready to worship. I'm here to worship. And I think that the emerging generation has followed on the heels of my generation and maybe the generation that preceded me, where we're way too consumeristic. We're way too consumed with, well, what's in it for me? Did it do it for me? Did it was that experience something that mystically stirred in me worship? And think a way stronger thing would be for there to be a body of people who are coming week after week because they've been walking with Jesus, and the overflow of that, it can't but help change the dynamic of what it means when we come together, regardless of the songs we sing, regardless of whether the band's on, regardless of whether the worship leaders, got some great inspiring thing to say, or whether, he or she's been a little, dry that week. But we're here to worship. We're taking personal responsibility for it.
Cool. Yeah, and I would just say then that's probably what we want to try to accomplish here, is just to make worship a discipline in our life, where it isn't just something that we're just kind of coming week after week, expecting somebody to give me something, but I'm actually coming to bring something. So, to be consumed, not to be a consumer, in our worship. Man, I stole that from somebody else. I stole it from somebody else. But I just can't remember who. But anyway, so Suburban Monastery, January 20th. Be there. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to tackle about 6 different spiritual practices. And, stay tuned next week. I'm going to talk to Pastor Allen about prayer.